Listen carefully, because what I'm about to say might shake something inside you. Every single morning, millions of people wake up before the sun even rises. They drag themselves out of bed, half asleep, half alive, chasing something they were told matters, something they were told would one day make it all worth it. They get dressed, they fight traffic, they sit in offices, factories, shops. They give their time, their energy, their life away, hour by hour, day by day, year after year, and they keep telling themselves, one day I'll be free, one day I'll enjoy life, one day I'll finally live. But here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud, that one day never comes for most people. They work until they are 65, and they end up with nothing but regrets, nothing but exhaustion. Nothing but a lifetime that slipped right through their hands. You see, the system doesn't break people overnight. It doesn't come and destroy your dreams in one moment. No, it's more patient than that. It chips away at you slowly. It convinces you to settle. It teaches you to trade your time for security, your passion for comfort, your purpose for a paycheck. And at first, it feels safe. It feels responsible. It feels like you're doing the right thing. But deep down, there's a voice inside you that never fully goes quiet. A voice that whispers, "This isn't it. You were made for more than this." And most people, they silence that voice. They ignore it. They bury it under bills, responsibilities, and fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping outside the life everyone else expects them to live. So they stay. They stay in jobs they hate. They stay in routines that drain them. They stay in a life that slowly kills their spirit, and the years go by. 25 becomes 30, 30 becomes 40, 40 becomes 50. And before they even realize what happened, they're standing at the edge of retirement, looking back at a life they barely lived. Let me ask you something. What is the point of reaching the end if you never truly began? What is the point of surviving if you never allowed yourself to feel alive? Because life is not meant to be something you endure. It's something you experience. But you can't experience life if you spend all your time preparing to live it later. Later is the biggest lie ever sold. Later is where dreams go to die. People say, "I'll start my business later. I'll travel later. I'll follow my passion later." But later turns into never. And one day your time runs out. You see, time is the only currency you can never earn back. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can make more money. You can rebuild your career. You can start over in many ways, but you can never get back the years you wasted living a life that wasn't yours. And that's the real tragedy. Not failure, not struggle, not even loss. The real tragedy is reaching the end of your life and realizing you never gave yourself a chance. You played it safe. You followed the crowd. You did what was expected. But you never did what was calling you. Now understand this clearly. There is nothing wrong with working hard. There is nothing wrong with earning a living, providing for your family, being responsible. But there is something deeply wrong with losing yourself in the process. You were not born just to pay bills and die. You were not created to live a life that feels empty. You were not meant to wake up every day feeling like you're just going through the motions. There is something inside you, something powerful, something unique, something that no one else in this world has exactly the way you do. And if you ignore it, if you suppress it, if you let fear keep you from it, then you are choosing a life that will never truly satisfy you, because purpose doesn't disappear. It waits. It waits quietly, patiently, for the moment you finally decide to listen. But here's the hard truth. That moment has to be chosen. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to push you. No one is coming to hand you the life you dream about. If you want something different, you have to do something different. And that begins with a decision to stop settling, a decision to stop waiting. A decision to stop living a life that looks good on the outside but feels empty on the inside. It's not easy. It will never be easy. There will be doubts. There will be setbacks. There will be people who don't understand you, people who question you, people who tell you to stay where it's safe, but safe is not where growth happens. Safe is where dreams suffocate. Safe is where potential dies quietly. If you want to build something meaningful, if you want to create a life that actually excites you, then you have to be willing to step into the unknown. You have to be willing to take risks. You have to be willing to fail. Because failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it. Every person who has ever built something extraordinary, every person who has ever lived life on their own terms, they all faced fear. They all had moments where they doubted themselves. They all had reasons to quit, but they didn't. And that's the difference. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They didn't wait for approval. They didn't wait until everything made sense. They moved anyway. They acted anyway. They believed in something bigger than their fear. And that's what you have to do. Because if you don't, you will wake up one day and realize that you traded your entire life for comfort. You traded your dreams for stability. You traded your potential for routine. And in the end, you gained nothing that truly mattered. Money comes and goes, jobs come and go. But a life lived with purpose, a life lived with passion, a life where you actually chase what sets your soul on fire, that's something no one can take from you. So don't wait until you're 65 to realize you've been living someone else's life. Don't wait until it's too late to start asking yourself the hard questions. What do I really want? What makes me feel alive? What am I afraid of and why? Because on the other side of those questions, on the other side of that fear, is the life you've been avoiding. And yes, it's uncertain. Yes, it's risky, but it's real. And real is better than comfortable lies. Real is better than quiet regret. Real is better than a lifetime of what if. So stand up for your life. Stand up for your time. Stand up for the dreams that refuse to leave your heart, because at the end of the day, this is your journey. Not your boss's, not society's, not anyone else's. Yours. And you have a choice. You can follow the same path as everyone else. Work, wait, retire, and wonder where it all went. Or you can take control. You can decide that your life will mean something. You can decide that you will not be another person who wakes up too late. You can decide right now that you are done settling for less than what you know you're capable of. Because the truth is, it's not about age. It's about awareness. The moment you wake up, the moment you realize what really matters, that's the moment your life can change. But only if you act on it. So don't just listen to these words. Feel them. Let them shake you. Let them push you. Let them remind you that your time is limited and your potential is unlimited. And those two things should never be wasted on a life that doesn't fulfill you. You don't need permission. You don't need perfection. You don't need guarantees. All you need is the courage to begin. Time is the one thing every human being is given equally, yet it is the one thing most people misuse without even realizing it. Every morning you wake up with a full account of hours, minutes, and seconds. And whether you're rich or poor, educated or uneducated, ambitious or lost, you get the same 24 hours. But here's where the difference begins. Some people invest that time and others spend it like it has no value. From a young age, people are taught how to earn money, how to save money, how to spend money wisely. They are trained to chase financial success, to build careers, to measure their worth by numbers in a bank account. But almost no one teaches them how to value time. Almost no one sits them down and says, "This right here is your real wealth. Once it's gone, you can't earn it back. Once it slips through your fingers, it's gone forever." So people grow up believing that money is everything. They sacrifice their youth chasing it. They sacrifice their health trying to maintain it. They sacrifice their happiness trying to protect it. And in the process, they slowly give away the one thing that actually matters: their time. Look around and you'll see it everywhere. People waking up early not because they are excited about life, but because they have no choice. They move through their day on autopilot, doing things they don't enjoy, surrounded by people they don't connect with, counting down the hours until they can go back home. And then what happens when they finally get home? They're too tired to live, too drained to pursue anything meaningful, too exhausted to even think about changing their situation. And they tell themselves it's temporary. They say, "I'm just doing this for now. I'll enjoy life later. I'll make time for what I love later. But later becomes a habit. Later becomes a pattern. Later becomes a lifetime. Years pass, and that same person who once had dreams, energy, and ambition starts to feel stuck. Not because they lack ability, but because they have given away so much of their time that they no longer know how to reclaim it. They have built a life that revolves around obligations, routines, and expectations. And breaking out of that cycle feels impossible. This is the trap. This is how time gets taken from you. Not all at once, but little by little, day by day. You don't notice it in the moment. You don't feel the weight of it when you're young. But as the years go by, it starts to catch up with you. And one day, you wake up and realize that the time you thought you had isn't there anymore. You start thinking about all the things you wanted to do, the places you wanted to go, the person you wanted to become. And suddenly it hits you. Those weren't just ideas. Those were opportunities. And every day you delayed, every moment you chose comfort over growth, you were quietly letting those opportunities slip away. Money can be regained. If you lose money, you can earn it back. You can start over, you can rebuild. But time doesn't work like that. There's no second chance with time. There's no reset button. There's no way to go back and reclaim the years you spent living a life that didn't fulfill you. And yet, people treat time like it's unlimited. They waste hours on things that don't matter. They scroll endlessly. They complain endlessly. They wait endlessly. They invest their time into distractions instead of direction. They pour their energy into things that don't bring them closer to the life they actually want. It's not that they don't know time is important. Deep down, everyone knows it. But knowing something and acting on it are two completely different things. Because acting on it requires change. Acting on it requires discipline. Acting on it requires stepping away from what's easy and stepping into what's necessary. And that's where most people hesitate, because valuing time means making difficult choices. It means saying no to things that feel comfortable. It means letting go of habits that waste your life. It means facing the reality that every second you spend doing something meaningless is a second you'll never get back. Think about how many hours people spend worrying about what others think, how many days they spend doubting themselves, how many years they spend waiting for the right time to take action. All of that is time. Time that could have been used to build something, to learn something, to become something. Instead, it gets lost in hesitation. There's a difference between being busy and being productive. A lot of people fill their days with activity, but that doesn't mean they're moving forward. They're just staying occupied. They're just passing time. And the danger of that is, it creates the illusion of progress. It makes you feel like you're doing something, when in reality, you're just maintaining a cycle. And cycles are comfortable. They're predictable. They don't challenge you, but they also don't change you. If you really value time, you start to question everything. You start to ask yourself, is this worth my life? Because that's what time is. It's your life in motion. Every hour you spend is a piece of your existence. Every day you live is a part of your story. And once it's written, you can't erase it. So the question becomes, what kind of story are you writing? Are you writing a story of routine, where every day looks the same, where nothing changes, where you're just waiting for something to happen? Or are you writing a story of growth, where you take control, where you make decisions that move you forward, where you use your time to create something meaningful? Because the truth is, no one is going to manage your time for you. No one is going to step in and say, you're wasting your life. That awareness has to come from within. That responsibility belongs to you. And once you truly understand the value of time, your mindset begins to shift. You stop chasing things that don't matter. You stop engaging in conversations that drain you. You stop investing energy into people who don't add value to your life. You become more intentional. You start protecting your time like it's the most valuable asset you have, because it is. You begin to realize that saying yes to everything is actually saying no to yourself, that every commitment you make has a cost, and that cost is time. And if you're not careful, You'll give your time away to things that don't deserve it. And then, one day, you'll look back and wonder why you never had time for yourself. It's not about being perfect. It's not about using every second efficiently. It's about being aware. It's about understanding that your time is limited and choosing to use it in a way that aligns with who you want to become. Because at the end of the day, your life is nothing more than the time you've been given. And how you use that time determines everything. Fear is one of the most powerful forces controlling human behavior, and yet most people never truly understand how deeply it shapes their lives. It doesn't show up loudly. It doesn't always announce itself as fear. Sometimes it disguises itself as logic, as caution, as responsibility. It whispers instead of shouts, telling you to wait, to think twice, to stay where things feel predictable. And over time, that whisper becomes the voice you trust the most, even when it's holding you back from everything you were meant to become. From the moment people start thinking about their future, fear begins to influence their decisions. Not the fear of failure alone, but the fear of judgment, the fear of rejection, the fear of stepping outside what is considered normal. They start measuring their dreams not by what they truly want, but by what feels safe enough to pursue without risking embarrassment or uncertainty. And slowly, without even realizing it, they begin to shrink their ambitions. They stop aiming for what excites them and start settling for what feels secure. They trade possibility for predictability. They convince themselves that it's better to have something guaranteed than to chase something meaningful. And while that choice might seem reasonable in the moment, it creates a life that feels limited, controlled, and unfulfilled, because fear doesn't just stop you from taking big risks. It also shapes the small, everyday decisions that define your path. It tells you not to speak up when you have something valuable to say. It tells you not to try something new because you might not be good at it. It tells you to stay quiet, to stay comfortable, to stay within the boundaries that have already been set for you. And the longer you listen to that voice, the stronger it becomes. It builds a version of reality where stepping outside your comfort zone feels dangerous, where failure feels catastrophic, where taking a chance feels like losing everything. It convinces you that the safest option is always the smartest option, even when that safety comes at the cost of your growth. This is how people get stuck in average lives. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they allow fear to dictate their choices. They let it decide what risks are worth taking and which ones are too dangerous. And more often than not, fear chooses the path that keeps them exactly where they are. Average becomes acceptable. Comfort becomes the goal. And over time, that comfort turns into a cage. It's a strange thing because from the outside, everything might look fine. A stable job, a steady income, a routine that feels manageable. But inside, there's a quiet restlessness, a sense that something is missing, a feeling that there is more to life than what they are experiencing, but they can't quite reach it because every time they get close, fear pulls them back. Fear is not always irrational. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it protects you from real danger. But when it comes to growth, when it comes to pursuing something meaningful, fear often exaggerates the risks and minimizes your potential. It shows you all the ways things could go wrong, but it never shows you what could go right. It keeps your focus on loss instead of possibility. And because of that, people begin to overestimate the cost of failure while underestimating the cost of inaction. They think failing would be the worst outcome, but they don't realize that never trying is far worse, because failure teaches you something. Failure pushes you forward. Failure forces you to grow. But doing nothing keeps you exactly where you are, slowly draining your confidence, your ambition, and your belief in what's possible. There are people who spend years thinking about what they could do, what they might achieve, what kind of life they could create if they just took that first step. But they never take it. They wait for certainty. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait until the fear goes away. But fear doesn't go away on its own. It stays until you confront it, and the longer you avoid it, the bigger it becomes. The truth is, every path in life carries risk. Staying where you are is a risk. Chasing your dreams is a risk. Choosing comfort is a risk. Choosing growth is a risk. There is no option that guarantees safety. The only difference is what you gain or lose from each choice. When you let fear keep you in the same place, you might avoid immediate discomfort, but you also avoid progress. You avoid discovery. You avoid the chance to become something greater than you are right now. And over time, that avoidance adds up. It creates a life where nothing changes, where nothing evolves, where you remain exactly as you were years ago. That is the hidden cost of fear. It doesn't just stop you in the moment. It shapes your entire future. It determines the opportunities you miss, the experiences you never have, the version of yourself you never become. And one of the hardest things to accept is that most of those limitations are self-imposed. They are not created by circumstances alone. They are created by the decisions you make in response to those circumstances. They are created by choosing what feels safe instead of what feels necessary. Breaking out of that pattern requires something most people struggle with. It requires acting despite fear, not waiting for it to disappear. Because if you wait until you feel completely ready, completely confident, completely certain, you will be waiting forever. Confidence is not something you find before you act. It's something you build by taking action. It's something that grows every time you step outside your comfort zone and prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. The first step is always the hardest, not because it requires the most effort, but because it challenges everything you've been telling yourself about your limits. It forces you to question the story you've been living. The story that says you need to play it safe. The story that says you're not ready. The story that says failure is something to avoid at all costs. But once you take that step, something changes. Not instantly, not dramatically, but enough to shift your perspective. You begin to see that fear is not as powerful as it seemed, that it loses its grip the moment you stop obeying it, and with each step forward, that grip weakens. You start to realize that the things you were afraid of are often not as bad as you imagined. That failure is not the end, but a part of the process. That uncertainty is not something to avoid, but something to navigate. And most importantly, you begin to see that your life is not meant to be controlled by fear. It's meant to be shaped by choice. Every decision you make either moves you closer to the life you want or keeps you stuck in the life you have. And fear will always try to pull you toward the familiar, the predictable, the average. It will always try to convince you that staying the same is the safest option. But staying the same is not safe when it costs you your potential. It's not safe when it prevents you from growing. It's not safe when it leads to a life that feels unfulfilled, because in the end, the biggest risk is not taking a chance. The biggest risk is looking back and realizing you never did. Never gave yourself the opportunity to see what you were capable of. Never allowed yourself to step into something greater. Never found out how far you could have gone if you had just faced your fear instead of following it.